Okay. Hi everyone. Can you hear me okay? Um,
Hi.
well,
Yes.
yes?
Yeah,
Okay.
hi.
Welcome everyone. This is the second conversation of women in the Wikimedia movement. Today we are going to focus on women in leadership. And for this conversation here in the room today, co-hosting the event is my colleague Alex Wang, who works in the Community Engagement Department in the Wikimedia Foundation. Marty Johnson, I think, was going to join as well as co-host maybe later. My name is Maria Cruz. I'm a Communications and Outreach Manager in the Wikimedia Foundation. And here with us today to present their experience are Natalia and Murat, who are going to share a little bit about their work. After the presentations, we're going to have 20 minutes or so for conversations and discussion. So without any further ado, I will give the floor to Natalia.
Okay, hi. I will now share my screen. Okay. So I would like to tell you my personal story as a woman in the Wikimedia movement, concentrating on the things that I have learned while being in the movement. And although it will be personal, I hope that there will be some things that you will be able to take out of this presentation and use them in your communities or in your other roles as women, also outside Wikimedia. So, first of all, who am I? My name is Natalia Szafran-Kozakowska. I edit under username Magalia, and I have been a Wikimedian for almost a decade now. I will be celebrating my 10 years in the movement in August, and for most of this time I was also an admin on Polish Wikipedia. I was also elected twice to Polish Wikipedia Arbitration Committee and once served as its president. And I used to be a member of Wikimedia Polska board, and now I am a volunteer supporter for Wikimedia Poland, which is the greatest role ever because I get to work with volunteers, also with women, and empower them to make amazing things within the movement. And for 3 years now, I have been in the international organizing team of the CE Spring Contest, which is an editing contest aimed to create and improve articles related to Central and Eastern Europe. And this year edition is starting next week, so I hope that you will join. And what I think is important in my journey as a Wikipedian is that when I started in 2008, no one really thought that the gender gap is something that we strongly need to address. I think we already knew that there are very little women in the movement, but the communities were still not totally sure that it is important to do something about it. I don't think this is the case only of Polish Wikipedia, that it is something that went much wider in 2008. But at the time, the overall opinion is that, okay, so women don't edit because maybe they don't want to, so let's not force them, we don't need to do nothing about it. But now, if we would get into a time capsule and move back here to 2018, we would see a totally different situation. Only in Wikimedia Poland, last year we hosted an art and feminism editathon. We had Wikipedia is also a women project in which we created or improved almost 200 articles about notable women. We made a press campaign in which we talked about the gender gap and about the content gender gap and encouraged women to join and help us in changing the situation. So my story somehow connects those two contexts and those two situations. And what I learned grows from many years of being a woman in different situations, both in the situation when we didn't exactly know that we really need to do something, and in the situation when communities around the world really engaged in fighting the gender gap, and the foundation really supports it, and there are many projects to close the gender gap. So, when I began my journey as a Wikipedian, I was a bit shy because I saw Wikipedia, this very large and amazing project filled with those intelligent, great people with knowledge. And I really wanted to edit, and I really wanted to join. But there was this voice in my head, which I think many women would recognize, which said, you don't belong here. This is not for you. You don't have enough knowledge. You're not good enough. So maybe let others do it. I think this is quite typical to women, that they tend to underappreciate their knowledge and their skills. And this is how I felt at the beginning. But nevertheless, I decided to try, and I wrote my first articles. And then something really, really important happened. 2 women came to my discussion page separately, and one of them, user Murat, wrote, "Oh, I see that you create articles about literature and that you put an information that you are a student of literature on your user page. So maybe you would come to this wiki project and help us to raise the quality of literature-related articles. We would really need your knowledge. We would really, really appreciate that." And at the same time, another user came and said, "Oh, I see that you have quite good language skills. Maybe you would like to help us in proofreading the articles which are going to be shown on the main page of Polish Wikipedia." And this was very simple and very amazing, because 3 different important things happened at once. First, I was noticed as a new person and I was welcomed. But I was, second thing, noticed not only just as a random user, but as someone with qualities, with some knowledge and with some special skills that could be useful for Wikipedia. And the last thing, I was shown for the very first moment how what I know and what I can do can be useful in the movement. And I think that everything else I did as a Wikipedian, all the projects I held, started with this very moment when I was not only welcomed, but noticed, appreciated, and invited in a very special way. And this is something that happened to me with very often with my project, that I joined because someone was there to show me how the skills that I have, how the qualities that I have can be useful for the project. This is how I joined Seaspring, because user Lord Bunbury came and said, "You're doing communication for Wikimedia Poland, we could use that, please join us." This is how I became a board member for Wikimedia Poland, because one of the board members said, "You're a great organizer, we could use that, please try to get elected." And this is something I try to do when working with people, working with volunteers, to see exactly who are the people I work with, what are their qualities, and to show them how they can be used. And I think that this is especially important when we work with women, because women tend to stay at the back of the room. They don't raise their hands, they don't go forward very often. So many of them need to be seen, need to be invited, and need to see that what they have to give is really, really important and valuable. At the beginning of my Wikimedia adventure, I thought that this is kind of like a lone wolf thing, that we are sitting behind our computers, doing it alone, and sometimes talking in the village pub. But then I've learned that it can be very, very different, and this is very empowering. I came to my first meeting, to my local community meeting. It was a tiny meeting. There were only 4 of us, 2 of which was me and my husband. I was the only woman, and I really, and it was something that happened a lot during the years. I was for a long time the only woman to join our local meetings. And I found that Wikimedia and Wikipedia is so much better when it is a social experience, where there are people who you can meet, who you can talk to tell about the problems you have, to create projects together, to do something. And I started to organize those meetings, and I was very persistent about creating opportunities for the local Wikipedians to meet, on and on. Sometimes there were only 2 people, sometimes there were 5 people, but as the time passed, there was more and more of us. And it was something that was very important for me, because I had my team. We could do great things together because we liked to hang out together. So we could hang out by organizing a conference, an editathon, a meeting. I always had people to learn from, people to support me, and people to appreciate what I'm doing. And I think this is something that we should really focus on, to create strong local communities who would create a good, who will create a place of support and appreciation for women, and a place to learn and get empowerment from. Well, my journey as a Wikipedian turned rapidly when the most joyful revolution of my life came, and I became a mom. And suddenly things changed, because I got a very different sense of time and space, because time suddenly became something very precious, which I had to share between my family and between my passions. And if I needed to make a choice, I would obviously all the time choose my family. And space became very different, because the venues of Wikimedia meetings stopped being just venues which were good if they served good for having presentations, for having conversations, for being together as Wikipedians. Suddenly I saw them as places where it was either convenient or inconvenient to take a baby with me. I took my son to Wikimedia, and it was a totally different Wikimedia. And then I understood that if we will keep creating wiki meetings as something which is separate from our lives, if we will have this wiki world when we go and do wiki things while all the other elements of our lives stay behind, then we will force people to make choices. And for women, it was very likely that they will choose something else instead of Wikipedia. So for me, staying in the movement meant that I needed to create an environment in which I can include my family in my actions as a Wikimedian. So organizing all the local events and my whole engagement in my local community changed, because I started to choose places where there is convenient not only to take children, but also to take friends, even pets, to make Wikimedia a place where different things and people that we love and like and are passionate about connect, and not some separate area of our lives. And this also made the local community I like so much, very much stronger. Every year we're having a wiki barbecue. People take their families, they take their pets, children, we're having fun, and we get to know our outside wiki lives, and we also don't make people choose if they want to spend time with us or with their families. We welcome both, and it's a great experience. And I really think strong about making Wikipedia a Wikimedia a space for connections and for meetings and for putting a lot of different passions of our lives in. And the last thing that I learned with those cute little Wikipedia muffins, I really like them to put on my slides and to watch, is that sometimes we don't notice very little things that make the difference for women in the Wikimedia movement. When I became a board member for Wikimedia Poland, the first email I received, and I received it at the very first day I was elected, was, I'm very glad, it was from a woman, I'm very glad that you are on the board, and now please do something about the t-shirts. And then I realized that for years there were so little women at our events that we only ordered male t-shirts with Wikipedia and gave them away at the events. Thanks to that, I have a lot of Wikipedia pajamas because this is basically for what male t-shirts can be used for. And then I understood that we are approaching it in the wrong way, in the wrong direction, because we're not ordering female t-shirts because there are so little women. But the t-shirts, as trivial as they are a sign that women are not expected. It's nice that they are here, we can give them the t-shirts, but we don't really expect them to be there. And when we realized that we are doing it wrong, we started to make also female t-shirts. But also we saw how we need to change all our approach. In Polish language, there are male and female forms of words. We have male form of user and female form of user. Male form of Wikipedian and female form of Wikipedian. So we need to be very careful that when we are designing our messages, the pages for our project, we need to take extra care that we are including both forms. All the time we need to show women that they are welcomed and expected and that Wikipedia is a place for them. Also, the little thing is that we need to see how women in our teams act. I often saw that in myself, that when I had an idea or something to share, I was very often tempted not to raise my voice, not to be too visible. I wanted to say something, but I didn't have the courage to step up. And sometimes while walking with women, we can see that there is something they really want to do or share, and noticing that and creating space for saying that is pretty important. So this is what I learned. I hope it's something that can be useful for you, and thank you.
Thank you, Natalia. That was really, really wonderful. I have a lot of questions. I think we'll save them to the end. Right, Maria?
Yes, that's right. Thank you so much, Natalia, for offering this experience in such a mindful way. Now I will give the room. If you have questions also for Natalia, please write them down or keep them. We will have time for questions and conversation at the end. I would like to give the room to Murat Salman.
Hi everyone. So my name is Murat Salman and I'm from Jordan. I am a member of the Wikimedians of the Levant user group. I have started editing Wikipedia since 5.5 years only, and since then I almost edit Wikipedia, the Arabic Wikipedia and English Wikipedia every day, every single day. And since then I created more than 1,200 articles in Arabic. In 1 year, I became an admin. I am one of 3 women admins in Arabic Wikipedia. I can say that 2 of us are active and one comes and goes, it's life issues. And I am a co-founder of the Wikimedians of the Levant user group. Actually, when we thought of establishing this user group, we thought that we have to consider the neighboring countries that have little presentation, let's say. So we considered that joining 4 countries together in one user group would be beneficial. My user group is not that big group, but since since we got the approval 3 years ago, we have been active in the local community and in the Arab community as well. The first year we hosted the Wiki Arabiya user conference, which is the second conference that gathers the Arab countries together. The first one was held in Tunisia 2015, and in 2016 we hosted the conference in Amman, Jordan. That was I can say that it gave me a huge experience being the manager of the conference, taking care of every single aspect and detail related to hosting a regional conference with many people or participants from different countries, taking care of the schedule, the logistics, everything related to the conference. I can talk more about that later, maybe. Of my work in the local community and in the regional community as well, I took care of many contests, and I still do, related to editing. So whenever we have an opportunity, we conduct these contests to get new participants to try enrich the content. One of them was actually I thought of dedicating that contest to scientific content. So we managed to get more than 800 articles, among which, or most of the content was medical, and that was done in April 2017. I consider that contest one of my best successes during my work with the community. I will also want to mention my participation in the 100 Wiki Days, which I consider a great platform where people can get to introduce to each other from different countries, and I support that community strongly. I consider myself very active. I completed 1.5 rounds editing articles and one round of photos, the commons participation. And I managed to invite many of my colleagues and friends to join also this small community, international community. I like it. My idea was that by joining such communities, international communities, you get to know different people, you get to know different experiences and participate and share, know what other communities do, what the people focus on. So you get to learn and teach also. You sharing experiences. I mean, it's two ways. And this opens doors to, let's say, other horizons. When you are in an international community, you will be enthusiastic to participate in conferences, in going to Wikimedia, for example, volunteering in committees that take care of different things. Also, this opened a good horizon for me to focus on the gender gap. Through the 100 Wiki Days, I managed to initiate let's say, a contest where we asked people from the different Wikipedias to write articles about women from the Levant area. And we managed to get more than 200 articles in different languages. I don't remember the numbers actually, but it was a good initiative where people really wanted to participate from different languages and different countries. And I'm willing to start another round soon, because I think this is one of the initiatives that encouraged other people to initiate the same idea. I got my idea from CEE. It's not my own, but I repeated the idea. And I think from Ireland there was another similar initiative. So mimicking the idea or the initiative means that it is successful. So we are willing to do it more and more. And this helps actually in bridging the gap between men and women in related to the content specifically, not to the participants, because most of the participants actually are men. In my community, I started to engage with the regional community because the Arabic Wikipedia is shared among different countries. It's not related to one country. Since I started editing, I also started participating in the conversations in the village bomb, checking what people write, what people discuss. I used to advise. I used to put my opinion. I used to have a voice. I'm there, and my ideas or my answers or my responses to whatever issues I used to read about in the chat pages, in the village bump, for example, made me feel like I am there as a woman. I can participate, I can share, I can impose my voice. And this is why I got the trust from the community, and this is why I have been selected or elected as an admin in less than 1 year since I participated editing in Wikipedia. I participated in 2 Wikimanias actually, 2014 in London and last year in Montreal. And this participation really enriched my experience, getting to know people from different countries, from different cultures. The connections we do used to give us, hi Anna, used to give us, let's say, a great trust that we all can share our knowledge in a very common way. We all have the same goals. We all can share, let's say, in initiatives. So Anna have just joined, and I can say that in 2017 we managed to initiate a common contest between Latin America and the Arab world, and it was very successful. And we named it Bridging. What was the name, Anna? It was Bridges Over Cultures, something like that, or Between Cultures. So I'm very proud of these common initiatives between communities, my community and other communities of the world. Talking about our lives and how Wikipedia or how being a member of the movement affects our lives. Actually, I used to be a full-time employee, working like 8 hours outside and trying to get some free time to run to Wikipedia and do some edits before the day finishes. This was because it's the passion inside us. So Wikipedia became, or working on Wikipedia or participating became like a lifestyle. It's something that, it's something inside us. One of the things that you have to do every day, like you go to work, check your email, you go back to home, check what you have, what you want to do, what articles you want to put in your to-do list, things like that. So it becomes really a lifestyle. And because of that, because you have that passion, you feel yourself that you are responsible for getting more people, getting or spreading the awareness, talking to your friends about what you do, showing the passion, showing that you are passionate about what you do, because you usually hear that word. What are you doing? Why are you doing that? What for? What in it for me if I want to participate? So this is a responsibility or a burden we have on our shoulders, that you have to explain and show people that what you do is really, let's say, a fingerprint that you are doing for your self. You are doing that voluntary work because people and the world needs it. Your children needs it. So I still work on this even before I joined any communities. I used to talk about Wikipedia and what we do and the work behind articles. People do not really know what work is being done behind the articles, behind the main screen they see. So this is why I encouraged my small group here in Jordan that we need to gather together and form this user group and do more meetings. We used to chat, phone calls, things like that, but I really like or the face-to-face meetings. So from now on, I mean, we did not used to meet often because the group is small and some of us are in different cities. Some are students, some are teachers, things like that. And I can say I'm the only woman in the group for now, the active one. My group colleagues used to depend on me in different things. So if we are going to agree on an edit-a-thon, let's say, I feel that things by default get to be of my responsibility. So they are, let's say, confident that things are under control since you are taking care of these things. So I decided that no, I have to be a participant, but I don't have to be responsible for everything. I have to have them share. I mean, my colleagues, I was asked this year, or I was nominated to be the director of the user group, and I refused that because I want someone else to take the responsibility, and I am with them, I'm behind them. I don't have to be the only member, like what happened in the conference, for example. They depend on you in every single aspect. No, they have to take the responsibility. They have to participate. They have to do their work, what's assigned to them, with my support. So this is, let's say, the methodology I'm working on now, and it's working on well. So recently, in the International Women's Day, everyone worked on the edit-a-thons. We managed to gather too many different partners from different communities here in Jordan, not only Wikipedians, and I managed to do a lot of the coordination before I leave them. I had to take a vacation, so I handed over everything to one of my colleagues, and the group worked very well, even if I am not with them, but I know that they will do the work because you have to make them feel they are responsible to continue the success. So I think that was a successful trial. We managed to create 140 articles by people who never edited Wikipedia. We got 140 articles about notable women in Jordan. That was in the International Women's Day recently. Because I believe that women have to have voice in the movement, and we have to show that we can do and we can work, and we have the potentials. I volunteer in many of the communities or committees, let's say, related to different work. For example, with Casey, I am a member of the Conferences Grants Committee. I am a member of the Wikimedia 2018 Scholarship Selection Committee, and a member of the theme team of 2018 Wikimedia as well. So I know that this takes a lot of my time, but it's okay as long as I want to do that, because I have the belief that unless women are there, things may not go on that well, you know, because women usually take care of details, they take care of impacts, they think of different things at the same time, so things got to be under control better than if we are not there. So these are my thoughts, and this is what I can tell about my experience.
Thank you, Murat. That was very inspiring as well. Great. So with these presentations, I am going to move us on to the questions and conversations part of the event. I think the first question I have for you is, as I was wondering, Murat, you mentioned a few things about the place where you live and what the characteristics of your community are, and Natalia, you did it as well. And I was wondering, as a woman contributing to the movement, is there anything in this context, in the Wikiverse, in the Wikimedia movement, that makes you feel empowered to act, that you don't find in other contexts where you live?
Okay, go ahead.
Okay. Thanks. I think that the Wikimedia world is very well designed to empower women, and if we use it properly, it is built in a way to empower people, women included, because as Murat wonderfully said, there are many things you can do, there are many responsibilities you can take, and also there are many responsibilities waiting to be taken, because there's always too little of us and too much things to do, and in a natural way it creates an environment in which women can step up and take different tasks and learn and grow in them. And also Wikimedia are built to be an easy place to learn and to easy place to make mistakes in a safe way. Women are often afraid of making mistakes, but inside of Wikimedia projects like Wikipedia, it is very easy to correct a mistake. And outside Wikimedia projects, when we are creating programs offline and working as teams, we never act alone. We always act in a group with people who can support us. Also, there is this super wonderful thing about Wikimedia that if you don't know how to do something, it is very, very easy to find someone who will help you in a kind way. So if we really enjoy this international environment of people with different contexts, with different stories to tell, and with different capabilities, and who are willing to share their experience, we can really grow on that. And for me, as a woman, Wikimedia was a place to really find out that I can do things that I never thought that I can, just because they were there to be done, and I had support, and I could do them. So this is how it works for me.
Yeah, I agree with Natalia and many of what she has explained. Actually, yes, Wikimedia is a safe place where women can play a great role. And because what we do is voluntary, I mean, we are not enforced to do what we do. You feel like that's the platform where you can feel empowered. You feel yourself safe because what you do is appreciated, supported, also protected. So you feel that you are highly supported in what you do. And I would want to add something which is that really in the movement there are really, really great women who work in different departments, and they are all doing a great job, and they are all supportive, and you can really learn from them. Like you, Maria, Alex, Anasoya, everyone who we got to work with and get to know. They are all friends. They act with you friendly. The environment is friendly. Catherine is friendly. Everyone. I mean, this is really the nice place you would want to be in, participate in. Everyone you get to know are friendly. I never felt that I'm not wanted. I'm not. It's not my place. It's not my place to be in. I really feel empowered being a member in the movement, in the international community, and in the local community as well.
Natasha has a comment on the chat. I don't know, Natasha, if you would like to speak up about that. Yeah. And then Crystal.
Well, I totally agree about Wikimedia being a place where women can make mistakes and learn, and also what Natalia said in her presentation about the fact that it's great when we can put our personal lives, family lives, with a Wikimedia context. For example, in Switzerland and in France, what I have tried to do is to integrate food in each event, so that then the women who came didn't have to cook or think about logistics when they came to the events. And I didn't realize it was so important until one Wikimedian told me that I should do a learning pattern about it, and I had never thought about that aspect being important for women who came to the events. I was always feeling a bit guilty about maybe spending too much money on that, but in fact it's something that was important to the women who came. And another thing also is we always hear that Wikipedia is sexist on the newspapers. The newspapers talk about the gender gap a lot, but at the same time it's the first place where I felt personally that so much could be achieved in 2 years. Like, I have found no other places where there was this place that I could take and where I could act as a woman and do something where you can actually see the progress being done. So that's, I think that's all for me.
Thank you. Crystal, would you like to go next?
Yeah, thank you very much. First, I wanted to thank Murat and Natalia again. I think you said so many important things. What I wanted to add now, that for me always the feeling was that within the Wikimedia movement, it was not that important how do I look as a woman. Very often outside we are judged by that. We are judged by our worth on the market. And within the Wikimedia movement, I had the feeling I'm just judged for the contributions I do make, and I'm very highly valued for my social skills. I think we all know there are a lot of Wikipedians that are a bit different, let's put it that way. And they are so happy, and I think many of the women I've met are have more social skills within the movement. And I feel often that they are really valued for that. And that's something that came as a big surprise to me, because in other contexts often people don't look that way that much. And I also wanted to stress that often if a project is started by a woman, and I think that's one of the secrets also of the 100 Wiki Days, internationally women will come together on that project. And that will give this project another drive. So there is this international connection that Murat already mentioned. I think that's a very important part. That also I was not able to connect with women from other countries. that much before in my life. And that really helped me understand a lot of my own issues with being a woman and all the things we're not always happy about. And to see the different perspectives. How is it in Poland? How is it in Jordan? How is it in the US? And so I think that is also just really a wonderful thing about the movement for women.
Thank you, Crystal. Thank you, Crystal. And before, so Crystal is also a colleague in the Community Engagement Department and longtime Wikipedian. And Natasha, I think you are also working with Lessons Page. Is that right, on French Wikipedia?
Yes, on the Francophone Wikipedia, Lessons Page, yes.
Okay,
exactly.
Just catching up on the introductions in case people were not aware of this. Alex, would you like to take the next question?
Sure.
Or I can.
Thanks to everyone for being here and for sharing your experiences. It's really great to hear. I had one question because we were talking about women in leadership, and I know that both of you have taken more formal leadership roles on Wiki as admins or part of ArbComs, and also in your affiliates. And my understanding, especially through Rosie's interviewing work that she did last year, was that there aren't actually that many women who see in their communities women in these kind of formal leadership positions. And so I'm wondering what the experience was like being nominated to be and in those positions, and if it was really a combination of community support and your own personal initiative. And kind of how can we encourage, or do you encourage more women to take on those types of roles? That's a question for both of you.
So I can start this time. I think, of course, I encourage women to take these roles in their communities, to be on top of things, to be the initiator, to take the initiatives, to take responsibility, to give guidelines to the guys, to the people, to the other members of the community. So in my community specifically, in the Arabic Wikipedia, the notable women, actually, the participants, I mean, are all leaders, even in the education programs. They are the top, or in the responsible people for the content, or in their user groups. We are all in good positions to be leaders by nature, let's say, by default. When one of us just let's say take the responsibility of any project or any initiative or any program, I assure you that things go on well, because we know that if we are on top of things, we have to have things done the right way. So we always encourage women to come and stay. We have many participants who come through the education programs, but most of them usually leave when their education semester or how they got to know Wikipedia finishes. They just leave, and now we work on getting them to stay and be active part or members of the community. And we succeeded to have a few of them like active members in the initiatives to take some responsibilities and to maintain their sustainable, let's say, participation in the communities. So yes, we need women to come and stay. We encourage them to shine so that they got to be known in their communities, and in this contest they get to be trusted by their communities. And this is one of the steps that makes their positions as leaders be easier.
Okay, so in my case, it was always a big support from the community who nominated me to different roles, both in Wikipedia and in my affiliate. And but I could grow to that role by taking smaller responsibilities before that, so that when the time came and I was nominated for being at the board, I have some successful conferences organized and some projects. So I felt that, okay, maybe I'm up to it. And before being nominated to the Polish ARPCOM, I was an admin for a long time and also was kind of used to that. So I think that it is very good to create opportunities to women to gather responsibilities step by step and to get used to the fact that they are needed and what they do is super valued, and to in that way to introduce them to different leadership roles. And I think that it is at this point in Wikimedia movement, it is kind of obvious to all of us that we cannot create a good environment without having women included in different power, let's say power positions, because we lose a very important perspective. If a board in an affiliate has no women in it, then there is an important perspective which is missing. And even if this board is really engaged in making women feel well in the movement, they don't see it from that point. And Wikimedia proves that there is great power in our differences. So we really need to invite many different people in many important roles, women included. So I think that there is a long way ahead of us, but it is something that is really, really need to be done to encourage women to participate and to support them all the way, to mentor them, to appreciate them, and to create a kind and safe environment in which they will be willing to grow and stay.
Thank you. So we have a few minutes left, and speaking of boards and board participation, we actually did a bit of data gathering and mining, and we have some data about governance of affiliates and female representation in those. So we learned that we have grown from having 20% of women, of representatives in governance in 2013 to having almost 27% in December 2017. And that was a big, this was the last 3 percentage points were a growth between December 2016 and 2017. So I was wondering if everyone on the call, if you have any thoughts about what could be, how do you think this change came to be, and what do you think made this possible?
I have an idea. Can you hear me?
Yes.
There are two things, I think. One of the things is that the whole idea of gender gap and bridging the gender gap in the projects has been really kind of taking on, and that the movement has really tried to do this in every single piece or place in the movement, so not just in the projects but also in the organization. So it has been pushed, it has been called out. The organizations that I work most closely to, for example, in the FDC, it's something that has been called out both by the committee and by us as staff, and I know it's something that has been kind of talked about a lot. Another thing that I was thinking about, which is a bit more tangential, is also that I feel that women have much more influence than they have power, and that slowly we're translating this influence into actual power, into actual decision power. And I hope we give more opportunities to do this, because I feel that there are a lot of women who are like behind the scenes, and in Wikimedia, at least, I mean, in like the last 13, 15 years, 14 years, it's something that I've been really noticing. There are a lot of women in like, on boards, but maybe just like outside of the board, but right there in the corner, and kind of active, Wikimedians, but who never kind of either don't make it to the positions on the board, etc. And I think that maybe, hopefully, this is starting to change because of the awareness around gender gap. That would be one of the explanations, I think.
Yeah, I would agree with that. As I said in my presentation, in 2008 and 2009, we didn't even consider gender gap being an issue which needs to be addressed. And now it's something that now nobody really discusses, with the fact that there is a gender gap and that we need to do something about it. And there are so many things being done across the movement, and the more women we attract, the bigger chances are that they will become leaders and they will take roles of power and decision making within. So I would also agree with Delphine on the awareness as an issue. Also, I very much liked what she said about women being behind the scenes. And now when you were talking about it, I realized that yes, this is this is something that really happens. So yes, so thank you for that.
So this is kind of.
Sorry.
Oh, I was going to say.
Go ahead.
This is kind of the opposite of that, but I think it's very much the same, actually. But as some of the chapters became more professionalized and they went out and hired staff in this area, a lot of the women that had those skill sets were traditionally have worked as EDs and things like that, were women. And as they came in, they made the environment much friendlier for women to come in and participate on boards, I think. So it's going away from that demographic of traditional, less experienced chapters who were smaller and only used the skills of, your traditional Wikipedians, I guess, into a professional staff, I think helped this as well. I mean, because a lot of the people that I know that are EDs, that are women, really, this is important to them to have this be, women be included. And they made a point themselves of working in this area. Oh, and I'm Sydney Poor, work at Wikimedia Foundation on the support and safety team, and a long-time editor as well.
Crystal, did you want to add something?
What I wanted to say was that I'm really surprised, because I know that from some of the newer user groups that are in countries like India, where women have it a bit more difficult to, go into positions of power, there are some new user groups that have no women in them. So I'm really surprised that the number went up in spite of this.
Yeah. We have some more data about regions and such, but that we will probably try to share this more broadly later. Alex, do you want to take one more question? And I think we're over time, but if everyone can stay, we can do one more question maybe. You're muted.
It's muted.
Oh, whoops. I have to go because I have a call with someone who's getting on an airplane right now. So maybe you guys can continue the conversation, but thank you so much. It's really great to see all of you and hear from you. And
okay, so if everyone's okay with, we can have one more question. Would that be okay?
Yeah.
It's just so interesting, and I love the conversation that is going on. Okay. So for all the women leaders that we have here today, I was wondering, Did you or do you have a mentor? And is there someone that you feel like you have learned a lot from? And is there anyone that made you feel empowered to step into a more of a leadership position?
For me, I don't have.
Oh. Go on, but I'm sorry, I keep interrupting you.
It's okay. All right. So for me, things came by default. I don't have a mentor actually because I wanted myself to be there in a leadership position. Things just came by default. I wanted to do things and I did things. So this is why people trusted me. The community gave me the trust. So this is why I am in a good position in my community, and I think I am doing well in the international community as well. So because this made me feel I am responsible for things I do. I have some achievements. I benefit the community. I want to continue doing what I am doing, and I am also looking forward to do more and more as a woman who have some power, let's say, in my community. So I would want to continue with you all to boost our movement more and more. So that's what I will do from now on. Natalia, I'm done.
Yeah, so I had a lot of luck as a Wikimedian because I met a lot of people from whom I was able to learn, and in all the roles that I had in the movement, there were always people willing to mentor me. But there is one specific user I would like to mention. The person from whom I learned the most was Daniel Malecki, user Leinat. He's a former steward, and he was this kind of person who really always, it was very natural for him to say to someone, and me included, that something that was done was good. He was the person who always said, "Oh, you did that well," or "Listen, I remember that you did that well, so maybe you should try this." And he was always very happy to share his experience and knowledge in event organization and communication, and he had a vast knowledge about that. With so much in a natural and very easy way, in which it was not at all patronizing. It was so natural to learn, and at the same time, he was the person who always introduced new responsibilities and roles to me. He was the one who nominated me to the board, and he really believed in women in Wikimedia movement, even before the gender gap became really an issue we're addressing. And he was the first person to say that we need to change the interface of Polish Wikipedia so that it will include both male and female form of the Polish word for Wikimedian, so that women will have a female form of Wikimedian in the interface. And he was very encouraging, and I think that a lot of things I'm doing today, 10 years after I started, with communication, with working with volunteers, with community, are built on what Daniel taught me. So I think that it is super important to share what we know with people, because we never know what people will do with that and where it will lead them and what will happen. So yeah, I was lucky enough to have a mentor at the beginning.
Yeah, well, can you hear
our
me
regards
well?
to him.
Yes, we can hear you, Anna.
If I look, like, since I started working the idea of Wikimedia Argentina, I can recognize like 5 mentors. So, for example, I remember at the very beginning, my board that now is currently led by one woman, Ivana, that was very, very supporting. Also, yourself, Maria, you were very supportive at the very beginning, and I mean, also through all this way. But when I look back, I see 3 main figures around me. One is Carmen from Mexico. I think that I learned a lot from her. The other one is Maria Sefidari, that I really believe that she has been very, very supportive and has come with me all this long way. And the other person that last year we worked very, very close, and I think that we all Wikimedia Argentina was in a mentoring program with her is Delphine Menard. I think she's here. So I think that, these 5 people, Board, yourself and Maria and Carmen and Delphine have made me, my way quite more easy, since the very, very beginning. So thank you so much.
You are lucky, Anna.
I'm very lucky.
Yes. Actually, my first mentor was Osmar Valdebenito, who was my boss at Wikimedia Argentina. He taught me so much about the movement. It was like a crash course. And I think in 3 months I got up to speed with how to work in Wikimedia, because I started working for Wikimedia Argentina, as some of you know. So I think to end this conversation, the last question would be, what traits would you like to see more of among leaders and organizers in this movement? Traits or personality characteristics.
This is Maria Sefidari. Can you hear me?
Yes. Hi, Maria.
Hi, everyone. So something I would love to see from the women leaders in the movement would be more participation in the public spaces. One example that comes to mind very clearly, at least for me, is the WMF board Q&As. We never get women participating, unless explicitly called out, or maybe we get one woman, right? And this is something that gets replicated. I've seen it several times in conferences or in mailing lists. I think it's pretty universal. I would also add, I would love to see more women running for leadership positions across the movement. The example again is the community elections. It's 2 times in a row that we have no new women running. I think that's problematic. Even if, you don't have to even run to win, but at least you can put down what you believe in, the direction the movement should take, your proposals. But it seems like we're not there. We're not in the public spaces. We're not in the spaces of decision making or even of strategy forming. And I think that's problematic. I'm glad to see or to hear that the number is raising slightly in the affiliates of the number of trustees. Still 27% it's pretty low. And I suppose the number is extremely low if we seek for chairs or vice chairs. So I am still concerned that we are pretty far away from public spaces, from shaping the conversation in the movement, and from believing that this is our movement and we have to be in the positions of power. We are not people from the outside trying to smash through barriers because we don't belong there. This is our place as well, and we're not occupying it. So I would like to encourage people to believe that it's their place to be in those positions, that they deserve to be in those positions, and they should run. I would love to see 10 women running in the next community elections or in the affiliate election. I don't care. But I think we are missing some very important spaces. We can examine why that happened. Certainly there's a structural problem. But I think we need to start taking that. Go, Anna?
No, I wanted to say something that maybe is not for this discussion, but it's so interesting that I just wanted to point it out. That, of course, when I look to the region in Latin America, I see women in leadership. I see there are women. It's also Rocio, for example, in Chile or others in Bolivia. But there's something that is very, very structural of the movement. There's the language that we use. not everybody can speak English. Not everybody can, and that's something that I think that, it's like a barrier for us sometimes. I mean, I don't even kind of express myself well in English. So there's a lot of people, and I think that we here in Latin America, we have women that are taking leaderships in their communities that sometimes they cannot even express themselves in the congresses. So I think that, of course, there's something on the structure, but there's something other things that that are happening that we need to face. Just something I wanted to say.
Well, Maria was asking about traits, so I was saying those traits I think would be lovely to see. But yeah, sure, I agree.
Something positive that I can add, is that although the number is not that big, but whoever is there is really powerful. I mean, it's a way, it's a good, let's say, balance, considering the power that women who are in leadership now in the movement related to the number, let's say. So let's not always focus on the numbers and figures and percentage, but what the women in their positions really do is really considerable and important. So just an idea.
Thank you, Murat. Yeah, go ahead, Natalia.
If I were to add something, I would agree that I would like to see women being bold and taking different responsibilities and feeling pretty confident and owning their own success, because women tend, I don't know, maybe this is a Polish context, but women tend to be very critical, and they tend to attribute the things that they achieve to others. So they have this tendency of attributing their success to getting help from someone or to luck, and not saying, hey, I did it, I'm great at what I do. So I would like to see women really happy about what they do and confident and owning their own success and having joy in what they do.
Thank you, Natalia. Maria, Mervat, and Anna. Delphine has a few comments in the chat. Yeah. About
I was
credit.
just like finding up what Natalia said, and that influence sometimes means that someone else is going to take the credit. It doesn't mean that you were not at the root of the decision, but you don't have the actual power to make the decision. And it's that translation between influence and actual power that I find is often missing even in our organization, in our movement.
Okay, I think that would be all, unless somebody else would like to share something else about traits or personality characteristics, or anything else about leadership.
I just wanted to mention, can you guys hear me okay?
Yes.
I just wanted to mention how beneficial I thought that this was and how absolutely empowering it was. I'm a fairly new Wikimedian. I've only been here for like less than a year. And I've noticed just, outside of Wikimedia Foundation, how much that they do empower women, and all of the previous places that I have worked, it's just not a focus at all. They're mostly corporations. But coming here and seeing some, these kinds of opportunities, these kinds of, speeches that you guys just gave, and it was so influential for me. And I don't know if you guys are familiar, but generally in America, the onus is basically on like independence for a girl, and it's usually the younger and independent girls that are a little more empowered in America to go and be big things and be leaders. And hearing like Natalia's perspective on family, and like there is a balance for people that want to have a focus on family as well as a focus on what they're passionate about. It was, it really spoke to me on a different level because, I'm surrounded by very, very independently strong, females around the Wikimedia Foundation, and they've all been inspiring in different ways. However, hearing perspectives from different cultures and from different people all around the foundation and not just the American perspective, it was great to hear that. And I really appreciate yours and Mervat's, perspectives and how you kind of built yourself and made yourselves, important people. But thank you very much.
Yeah, I wanted to say something. I celebrate this kind of spaces to share and to know and to learn from others. I think that sometimes as a woman in the movement, we can feel ourselves a little bit alone, and having these spaces where we all can chat and talk about what's going on and what happens, or which are our, what we learn, or which are the challenges we face. I think they're very, very important, and it's something that I encourage you to do more often, not just for the month of the women, but maybe, once per month or something like this. I think that is a great way of supporting each other. So thank you so much for this space.
I want to echo what Anna just said, that I hope that this series continues past the month of March, and that it's something that once a month or some other kind of time period that we are able to kind of come back together and address different questions that the moderators would present to us, because I found it very interesting. I also found it really nice to just be with all of you, even if we're not physically in the same room. I feel like, hey, you're in my living room. Thank you.
Thank you so much. This makes me feel super happy. I really appreciate your comments and seeing that this has so much value. And since you're saying, is there a part 2? Well, next week on Wednesday, we have Women in Technical Spaces. The conversation will focus on women in technical spaces. And the other small project that I would like to try out is to have these conversations in other languages. So I will probably be tapping some of you who have expressed interest in hosting this conversation in Spanish, hosting the conversation in Arabic, and I would like to offer my support and also the channel that we have and anything else that I can do to make those conversations happen, because it would be great to have this in multiple languages and ongoing. So I think, Natasha, is there something that you want to say? No, okay. Yes.
Yes, thank you very much for hosting this. It's nice to come across Rosie and all of you on Twitter and Facebook pages, but it's so much nicer to be able to chat. So thank you. And I totally agree with Rosie. If we could have that once per month, because it gives a lot of energy and comfort and a sense of sisterhood. So I really find it great.
This is great. Thank you so much. We're gonna end this virtual event. We are way over time now. But thank you so much for joining. Thank you to our presenters, Natalia and Mervat, for taking the time to share your experience in such a meaningful way. And stay connected. I'm gonna drop here the link to the event. So that you can bookmark it or add it to your favorite pages. And here we go. And I will be posting updates on that and also contacting via email. So thank you so much for joining, and I hope you can tune into the next one next week. Have a good rest of your day or night.
Thank you. Bye.
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 Bye, everyone.
Bye-bye. Thank you.
Bye.